Hey, welcome back, folks. Glad you could be with me. Max Nave Horsemanship. And, well, I'll tell you. Well, as usual, I watch my videos over and over, and I was watching that one from last week, and you know what? I think it might be a tiny bit misleading the way I talked about things, because I was talking about it, I was working with somebody else's horse, and a lot of you are not going to work with somebody else's horse, so you're going to automatically think it doesn't apply to me. Well, it does, but I'll get to that in a minute. You see, the individual involved in that story used to board here, and they left, I think, about a day before I did that last video. But there's actually somebody, a nice young lady, that still boards here that is in contact with them. And, well, just as I suspected, they're starting to have problems with the horse again. And, you know, that came as no surprise to me. And during the course of our conversation, it was actually, well, it was basically, eventually that horse is going to revert back to exactly the way it was, because if they don't change, the horse isn't going to either. And that's something I've talked about several times in my videos. I've talked about how your actions dictate the horse's actions. Horses don't act, they react. For example, these ones right here, depending on what I do, that's going to determine what they do and how they do it. And, well, these aren't mine, so I'm not going to mess with them. But basically, if you're training a horse, or even just riding it, or if you're in any way responsible for the behavior of the horse, what you do determines what the horse does. And as I said in the last video, I suspect strongly they are not going to change their ways. And if they don't, they're going to have problems. And sure enough, they're already starting to. And I'm sure that in a rather short period of time, they're probably going to have lots of problems. And, well, chances are quite likely, if they are typical of most people, is they're going to blame it on me, because I was the last one working with the horse. And that's one of the reasons that it's hard to find good trainers, because most of them actually won't put up with that stuff, and they don't like being dissed. And I know of several people that are pretty good trainers, or were, that have gotten out of the business simply because they got tired of being blamed for the problems that people were having with their horses, when in fact it wasn't them, it was the owner of the horse that was actually the problem. And that's why the problems come back. I mentioned this before in a video I did about tune-ups and the tune-up scam. Horses do not need tune-ups. They need proper handling. They need humans in their life that know what they're doing. So anyhow, that was the little add-on to that story, is that, yeah, sure enough, they're already starting to have problems. And I suspect in time they're going to have lots more. But how this applies to you as an individual, though, working with just one horse, just your own horse. And like I said, a lot of people are going to think that because of that, I shared that story, that, you know, it's in reference to working with other people's horses. No, it's not. It's just, in general, if you do things different, people are going to give you a hard time about it. And I want to talk a little bit about that, too, and why that happens. Part of the reason, anyhow, is because even if you're working with your own horse, and you're doing things different, there's always going to be somebody out there that's going to tell you you're doing it wrong, you should do it their way. And one of the reasons that people do that, and this is something that I've come to a conclusion of because of life experiences and the fact that I actually did take a psychology course once, and just from personal experience in life, I've observed that a lot of times people will criticize other people because they're actually insecure about their own knowledge, and they're not 100% sure about what they know and how they're doing things. But if they can get somebody else to do it their way, they feel better about what they're doing, because, oh, well, they're doing it too. So that's one of the reasons that you're going to get a lot of people that are quite persistent that you change your ways. And you'll also find, too, that the people that are the most vocal are probably the most insecure, and the ones that you should not be listening to at all. So, you know, if somebody's quietly going about their business and you ask for their help or advice and they give it to you quietly, that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that at all. But if you get people coming up to you and constantly trying to tell you what to do. It's best you ignore those people, because anybody that would assert themselves in that manner and try and get you to believe what they believe, well, maybe there's a reason behind it all that they might not even realize why they're doing it, but chances are pretty good if they're being that aggressive about getting you to do things their way, there's a good reason that maybe you shouldn't be listening to them. So basically, the purpose of that video was that, if you do things a little bit different, you're going to have opposition. And it doesn't matter, I don't want you thinking because you watched that video that it only applies if you're working with other people's horses. No, the exact same thing is going to happen if you work with, working with your own horse, if you do things differently. And, I don't know how to put it politely, but get a backbone. Stand up for what you believe in. If you find something actually works, don't be swayed by other people. If they say you should do it this way or that way, just say, well, thank you very much for your opinion, but I've already decided how I'm doing it. This is my way, and I'm going to do it my way. I don't know, use tact. I'm not real good at that one. But I would recommend be tactful about it. Don't tell them to, just don't be rude about telling them to get lost. But politely thank them for their concern and their advice, but you already have a way you want to do things, and that's what you're going to do because it appears to work best for your horse, or something like that. Anyhow, so, like I said, how the horses act is, well, like I said, they don't act, they react. And they react to the humans that are handling and training them and cueing them. And, exactly what the horse does is determined by you. So don't blame your problems on the horse. Don't blame it on a previous owner. Take ownership of the problems yourself and deal with them. And, oh yeah, I was gonna, on the note of all this going slow and taking your time and stuff, I recently finally decided to sell one of my own horses. And, well, originally that was my plan anyhow, but I just ended up liking them so much I didn't want to. But common sense prevails, and I realized, you know what, I really need to sell him. That would be the smart thing to do. And I think he's going to get a good home. I haven't got the cash yet, but I'm pretty sure he's sold. The people that came to look at him were just absolutely astounded by his personality and his training and everything else. So I was pretty satisfied with that. And, but that just adds to what I say is you go slow, take your time, and you get good results. And just recently, actually even just today, the ad's still there because, like I said, I haven't got the cash yet. So as far as I'm concerned, he's still for sale, but I'm pretty sure he's sold. I've actually been in contact with those people more than once, and I'm pretty sure they're going to take him. But I had another guy, he wanted to know, oh, is he ready to go to work? It's like, dude, read the ad. It says he's just started under saddle. He's not ready to go to work. Well, at his age, why not? Well, he's 7 years old. They aren't physically fully matured until 6. So he's really not that far behind. And there were a few extenuating circumstances that slowed things down, but it doesn't really matter. I like to take my time, go slow. And, well, one of the comments he made was, this is a random stranger replying to an ad, and I don't really care because, after he asked if he's ready to go to work, it's like, well, why was he started so late? And that's when I said, well, no, it's not really that late because they're not even physically matured until 6. Well, the other thing is, he said, well, you better hurry up. And I said, no, I'm going to take my time. He said, well, you better hurry up or you're not going to have him finished till he's 20. And it's like, dude, I'm already finished. You don't understand how I do things. By the time I start riding the horse, basically I am finished because I've already taught him how to be ridden on the ground before I ever get in the saddle. By the time I do get on the horse, there's very little that needs to be taught. A couple little things like neck reining and stuff, which depending on the horse, sometimes that can even happen on the ground. So, I mean, realistically, telling me to hurry up. It's like, no, I'm already done. So, but that's the difference. That's the mentality, and that, you know, I already told the guy, this is not the horse for you. And, well, quite frankly, I don't care how much money the guy had, I wouldn't sell it to him with his attitude, because he's very typically one of these people that are in a hurry. I'm going to bet that he probably thinks it's okay to ride 2-year-olds. A lot of you may think that's okay. I don't. So that's the way that works. So, you know, my own horse, my own personal horse, this is what I've done. I've gone slow. I've taken my time, so that by the time we actually start riding him, he's basically done. All he needs now is time and miles put on him, and that's it. And I explained that to the lady that came and looked at him, who was, she rode him, and she was amazed. Even with only 5 hours on his back, he is better than most of the horses she's ever ridden. And she didn't even realize how green he was until after she was done riding him. I'd already demoed first. Remember, never ever get on a horse unless you see somebody else ride it first. So I didn't even ask her to get on. I immediately threw my saddle on, rode him around, showed him what he could do, and all this stuff. And a few Liberty things that he does as well. And they were rather impressed. And then I threw another saddle on that was easier to adjust the stirrups, so they could take him for a test ride. After they were done, I says, he's not perfect, but he's not bad for a horse that's only got 5 hours on his back. At which point their mouth kind of dropped, and they didn't realize how green he was. And like I said, they figured he was actually better than most of the horses they've ever ridden. So you don't necessarily have to spend a lot of hours on their back to achieve good results. You have to do a lot of work before you get on their back to achieve good results. And then when you do get on the back, there's really not much left to do. So there you go. That's this week's video. Some current events. One of my horses was up for sale. I believe he's sold now. Like I said, I haven't got the cash yet, but I'm pretty convinced that they're going to take him. They were absolutely amazed when they finally came and saw him. It's one of those things that messages from an ad or whatever don't really tell you much about the horse. You actually have to go see it. And, well, then, of course, I just gave you a little update on the previous video, add on to that story. Yep, the problems are coming back, and I suspect in time they're all going to be back. So anyhow, if you do things different and you take your time, do things what I believe is right, there's going to be people that are going to oppose you. They're going to say you're not fast enough, you're too slow, you're not doing it right, you should do it this way, you want to have results. And personally, I've met those people, and I've even had people trying to tell me what I'm doing is wrong, and that, oh, that's not how you train a horse. And it's like, hey, buddy, you don't even have a horse. Don't tell me how to train a horse. I got 4 of them. They're all very well trained. So, you know, do what you got to do. Take your time, be thorough, and you know, don't worry about what other people think. Worry about what works for the horse. And it's like I said in another video a long time ago, the only thing I care about is what the horse thinks. That's all I care about. I don't care what people think. I care what the horse thinks, because what that horse thinks determines the results that I'm going to get. And if I'm doing it right, the horse is going to think right, and I'm going to get the right results. So there you go. Are people going to criticize me? Yeah, I'm sure they will. Sometimes it's just jealousy, because they don't want to change, so they don't get the same results that I get. Oh well. Have a good day.